Hello, and welcome back to Call to Reform. We're your co-hosts for today's podcast, Zara and Ashley. Today, we're going to be going over the interviews that Lucas and Jada did with parents and guardians of students in schools. We also have some research found on parents' roles in students' education and reform, the power they have, and some statistics on first-generation students.
Yes, Zara, they did a fantastic job reaching out and interviewing these busy moms.
I completely agree. For our first parent today, we have She is a mother of 3 in the Columbus, Ohio area. She's been a barber for about 18 years and counting, and she's going to share her experiences and values that she believes are best for her children today.
All right. Hello. Can you tell me what your name is, and what you do, and what ages your children are in school?
Hey, my name is I am a barber and have been for 18 years. I have 2 children, ages 13 and 15.
And what grades are they in? What grades are they in?
Okay, my 13-year-old is in the 8th grade and my 15-year-old is in the 10th grade.
Okie dokie. So for our questions, there's about 13, I believe.
Okay.
So what was school like for you as an adolescent, and would you change anything if you could go back? So tell me what school was like for you as an adolescent, and what would you have changed if you could have gone back and changed anything?
Just hurry up and get me out. I would have definitely paid more attention in Spanish class because I know now that it is a very vital and universal language.
Okay. Who was your role model while you were in school?
I really didn't have one.
That's fine.
I believe I can't think of it right now, but
so how much do you know about how schools are funded? And if you know anything, how did you learn this?
I may be miseducated or uneducated on funding. From what I understand, it is from the city. I may be wrong, but that's pretty much, and it's different with charter and public, so
yeah.
I do not.
So as far as we know, as far as I know, I know it's usually mostly taken out of taxes, or if like there's fundraisers or things like that. That's how schools kind of get their funds to have sports or uniforms or things like that. How involved are families in helping decide what students should learn? And how do you think?
I don't think a lot of parents are involved, or I think it's just the criteria that is put into the schools that is taught. First of all, the first education starts at home. I believe it may be, cultural or religious, whatever, that education starts at home, and then you have the school education.
Okay, so like there's like 2 different steps to like how parents are involved. Like there's, parents as their child and then parents as, like, their teacher.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. How involved are students in deciding what students should learn?
Again, like I said, it's what's presented into the schools, and it may be up to the student to do more research. And everything is definitely accessible, for the student to learn more. Again, that circles back to, at home and then what is taught in schools. Just do more research and you can learn from that.
Okay. So, along with that, another level of our question is, how involved are teachers in deciding what students should learn?
They have more of a influence or an impact on what students do learn, because they also can bring in material that can coincide with what they're teaching. For example, Black History Month. When I went to school, it was always a movie that was presented every February. I don't believe they do that anymore. But definitely it could be, something that could be presented to the classroom by the teacher.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that when I was in school, there wasn't really any Black History celebration until we actually had a Black administrator come in, and then we actually had a day or maybe even a week where Black culture was celebrated through fashion and music and stuff like that, where it was an assembly to just go and kind of watch it all happen. So I think up until that Black administrator came in, it wasn't really anything discussed or talked about according to Black history. So,
and I also feel that teachers they can present field trips. With COVID, everything is different now, but field trips, different material can be presented to kids, and you also have to be careful of what is taught, because some kids could come home with some information and it's totally against what beliefs are taught into the home as well. So it's a big world of knowledge out here.
Yeah. So going off of that, do you have any examples of teacher involvement? And, if not, what would you like to see more so happen if there could be more teacher involvement?
Actually, a lot of teachers are involved, more than what we think or know. Teachers are under a lot of pressure right now, and the way that kids are being raised, and teachers have a lot of difficulty with those attitudes and mentalities. I know there was one school where the teachers were very involved, and over time things have changed, but there are still mentors and teachers that are involved. I would like to see a lot more men step up and be role models and influence these young men out here. And it's a big job, but it has to start with people who really care and want to see change.
Definitely agree. I definitely agree that there are a lot of male teachers that I had, and then a lot more that are up and coming as well. But it's hard because some want to just be football coaches or just a coach in general. And a lot of those football coaches do set good role models for younger kids. It's just hard because of the area that some students can be in. So like more of a lower class area will have male teachers who may not necessarily care. Where if you go to an upper class area, it's like male teachers actually impact men, and they like may strive to be better, or they just have a bond to where they're understood more than where they could be somewhere else.
And what I look at for a really good example, my son came from Horizon, smaller school, smaller classes, and the teachers really weren't involved. It was, okay, this is your IEP. We'll set up a meeting. We'll discuss what's going on with your IEP. Whereas now he's in Pickerington Central, and it's more of a concern. It's more of a hands-on. It's more of an interaction face-to-face with all of the resources that he has available to him. So that is the difference, like you said, in different areas. It is a difference. And I feel like that is definitely an inconvenience or a hindrance on the development of children in, inner city and things like that. They're limited.
Yeah. So tell me about, hold on, sorry. To what extent has school changed for students today, and how so?
Definitely COVID comes to mind first thing. When my son first got on the school bus, he was standing up with a couple of students. Things have evened out, where everybody has a seat now. Everything is online. Everything is so digital and technical. So those are the things that have definitely changed.
Also, tell me about your ideal school.
Ideal school. Definitely have career center. Definitely have more hands-on home ec like I used to have. Wood shop, career things that build careers and character in people that don't have the resources. If everything's going technical, make it available to everybody. And, just teachers being more interactive, more caring.
Okay.
And not just, here's your assignment online, go do it.
Yeah. I think that was a lot of what students were faced, especially like I have a little sister, and she often talked about like she wouldn't get help that she needed because everything was online. And maybe she didn't reach out for help, but I also felt like it was hard for people to, they have to set up meetings outside of school, and it's like not everyone is like on top of their emails, so
Exactly.
What are the needs of your school community?
Bigger parking lot. No, just more interactive teachers. School has been closed twice, 3 times because of short staff. Just teachers. Bus drivers, it's a shortage of bus drivers. It's a never-ending hamster wheel because it starts with the parents and how we're raising children, and if we're working, we don't have time. Our time is limited, and who knows what the children listen to and talk about when they're not around parents, and those attitudes, and everything spills over into school, and it's a repercussion on the teacher. I mean, and not all students are like that, but that is the process. Some of the process that happens. So definitely more teachers and more adults that care.
Yeah. So for our next question, how do schools meet the needs of those they serve?
I don't know if I'm going to answer that right, but they just don't make school like they used to. When I was in school, they had after-school care for all ages, and books were in school, not computers.
Google wasn't a thing.
Oh no. Yeah, more programs to keep kids active. I mean, you have recreation centers, but there's a shortage there as well. So I mean, it's just a never-ending cycle of we need parents and we need things. Things have been shut down for kids because of COVID, and it leaves kids out here in the street just wandering, no direction. So we need programs and things to keep kids active and busy.
Okay. So, if with that in mind, how do they know to what extent they are successful in meeting their needs?
I mean, that right there is like a matter of an opinion, because you take an inner city school with just example Pickerington. They have more opportunity. They have more room to grow and to thrive and to, pick and choose what they want to do. That's just a matter of opinion, because I really wouldn't know.
Okay, that's fair. 'Cause it's like every kind of area or every school is different, so there's different needs. But I guess in my eyes, it's like I feel like that would be like making sure like they're actually listening to their students, or actually like
listening to the parents.
Yeah, seeing
and
where
community.
Yes, and seeing where they succeed and stuff like that. So, what is success in school, and to you, how did you like come up with this understanding?
It just really depends on the parent. Because myself, I lack the disciplinarian to keep my kids on top of their homework. I do your homework, get it done, the normal. But there's other parents who are on their children a whole lot more, and they expect nothing less than their very best. I don't know if that's a knock on me, but it's just different learning environments. I hope I answered that correctly.
So, what would you deem successful for your children in school? Like, how would they be successful in your eyes?
Location. Flat out location. Because I'm not going to get the same education in one area that I'm going to get in another.
Okay. 2 more questions. What role would you like to play in making schools places in which all children are successful?
Oh, I mean, I feel very insignificant in making that change.
I mean, but if you look at it as, you're bringing a concern that's... What'd you say?
My input?
Yeah, like if you're, you see yourself as like, but think of all the other parents who have brought up situations that, their child hasn't benefited from or your child needs. Like, that's kind of like making sure, like, okay, well, if this child lacks it, like, how many other students lack?
Right. I would look at where my child wants to go as far as, what they want in life. And then, push them to, really do better and to follow their dreams and do what they need to do to accomplish it.
So that you would technically be an advocate for then pushing your child and that right there could be something that, could be helpful to all children to be successful because, another child may not have a mom who wants to push or advocate for them or advocate for other students. So I think you would essentially have a big role, even by, like you said, you are a barber. So you're advocating for a child to go to school to make sure that they go to school to not be bullied for not having their hair cut. So you definitely do have a big role, more than that you think you do.
Thank you.
And the last question, how does your understanding of success compare to the way the state understands success?
That was very different. Wait, ask that question again.
How does your understanding of success compare to the way the state understands success?
It's very different. It's very different. Like I said, my children deal with IEP or have IEP. So the standards that are set through school is that. But, what I expect or what I would like is different.
So what would you essentially like that the state doesn't or doesn't see in your children?
Your sister distracted.
You're fine.
Ask that question again, please.
So how do you view your child or your children success differently than the state would?
Very differently. I see my children. They could definitely push a little bit harder. Definitely at home and in school. Like I said, the IEP is set for city standards or their guidelines and Horizon's guidelines, but another school could be something set higher. So it's up to me to push them to be higher, or to get higher and expect more from them.
So the state would kind of just view them as their IEP, and then you view them as more like an individual or like,
I know you can do better than what the standard is set for you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for answering all of my questions.
You're welcome.
Something that resonates with me is how even though she may have limited knowledge of what happens in the education system, all she wants is what's best for her child and her children. And I think that's what's important in every parent or guardian when they're sending their kids off to school.
Honestly, Ashley, I completely agree. Parents should walk alongside their kids and give them the resources and support and obviously all parents want what's best for their children, and I think just having moms in the schools that are like able to accomplish those things and give their child that kind of support and the resources, I guess, that they need so that they can become the best individuals is just, it's so important.
Of course. So next up we have Lucas, and he interviewed. She's a mother of 2 in the Bath, Ohio area. She was a medical technician for 15 years and a preschool teacher at Richfield Elementary School for the last 5 years. She gave us some very vulnerable information, having parental experience while also having teaching experience as well.
So what was school like for you as an adolescent, and what would you have changed, if anything?
School for me was simple and carefree. I honestly don't know if I would have changed anything other than possibly study more.
Alrighty. Who was your champion while you were in school, and what did they do for you while you were learning?
Mr. Velo, my algebra teacher. I was failing algebra, and he actually was the one that showed me that I could do it and worked with me, and I ended up getting straight A's after that.
He was kind of like your Mr. Housen then.
Pretty much, yes.
How much do you know about how schools are funded, and how did you learn this, and what would you still like to know?
I don't know if there's anything I would still like to know. Since I work in a school district, it helps that I'm a part of that process.
And how much do you know about how they're funded?
I mean, I know where it comes in from the states, and I know how it's spread out. Is there a different way to ask that question, possibly?
I don't know.
Or do you just need a simple answer?
A simple answer's fine.
Okay. Then I think I answered it, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay.
How involved are families in helping to decide what students should learn, and how involved are students in deciding what they should learn?
I don't know if parents are as much involved as the students are. I feel like in the day-to-day activity in the school, there's a lot of student involvement as far as what should be changed and what shouldn't be changed, as far as how they feel their learning is going. I don't think that parents are asked those questions as much.
Do you think students should have more involvement in what they want to learn?
Yes.
Or more freedom, rather?
Yes, I do. I feel that every child learns differently, and every child their interests are different. So yes, I think they should have more say in that.
And how involved are teachers in deciding what students should learn, whether it's based on curriculum or just in general?
I know, at least in our district, the teachers are very involved. There are weekly meetings that discuss curriculum and what is working and what's not working. There are monthly meetings for grade levels. So it's a continuing process. They're always working with specialists to see what can be changed and what is working and what could be better.
And that's obviously not going to be the same for every school.
Correct.
We're very lucky being in the Revere community where we have teachers that care so deeply about their students.
Absolutely.
To what extent has school changed for students today compared to when you were a student?
There's a lot more pressure to know a lot more at an earlier age than when I was a kid. Some of the things that I've seen you learn that I didn't even necessarily learn in school. It was more on a college level. But it's also shown me that kids are capable of learning much more at an earlier age.
And obviously technology has had a humongous impact on just school in general.
Technology is huge in that. my day and age was a lot of memorization, and I had nothing but my brain to rely on.
Tell me about your ideal school.
I think my ideal school is pretty similar to what the Revere School District is right now. The only thing that I would change is that, as we discussed earlier, a little bit more of that freedom for students to have a little bit more say in how they're learning and what they would like to do.
What do you feel are the needs for your school community, and how do schools meet the needs of those they serve?
Again, we're very fortunate where we live. We live in a community where if there is a need, community members, staff members, and just in general, the entire community reaches out and does whatever needs to be done. So, for example, we have our at-risk counselor, and she started, excuse me, she found a place on a road out here, and it houses clothing that are gently used or new in anything from sweatpants and sweatshirts to prom attire and all of that. And it's open to anyone in the community. All you have to do is go, and it's totally free.
Alrighty then.
I don't think you knew that.
I did not know that, no. That must be a recent thing.
It started last year, like post-COVID.
I think it might have been on the Twitter or something. It was called,
We had it in-housed at the schools, but it's become such a bigger thing now that they needed some place to house all of it.
What is your definition of success in school?
Success in school is when every child gets out of their experience what they needed to get. I feel like that's a success. Somebody needs to be educated, well-adjusted, happy, and ready to go out into the world.
What role would you like to play more of in making schools places where all students can be successful?
I think we're making good strides. I would like to see a lot more of support for kids in anxiety and stressful situations, because I do feel like there's a lot of pressure that's put on kids nowadays, and they're just expected to do it. And there's not a lot of looking out for those kiddos that may be having problems and not necessarily able to express that they're having problems or hiding it really well.
How does your understanding of success compare to the way the state understands success?
The way the state understands success is just by scoring in numbers.
That's why I do not like standardized tests. It doesn't measure intelligence, it measures how good you can take a test.
That's all it does, and it's completely ridiculous.
And I'm glad that more universities are understanding that and not requiring you to submit your tests.
Yes.
I didn't submit a single test score, and I got into every college I applied to.
That was the one thing I think that was beneficial of COVID, is that I think it's opened eyes at the university level that it's not necessarily needed. It doesn't give a good picture of who that student is coming into the campus.
Thank you for your time. That's all the questions I have for you.
You're welcome.
I think it's really great that we have a mom who's also a teacher in this podcast here. She really helps to give us two different sides of the story, especially with how schooling has changed. I mean, it's very different back then to how it is nowadays for us with all the technology and just the constant information being thrown at students. It's a lot.
I agree, Zara. Education reform is bigger than those who just work inside the school system. Getting insight from both a mother who is a teacher, from someone who is a mother and a teacher, is beneficial to hear about how children react to their learning environment outside of the school building. This interview definitely stressed the healthy bridge between putting your best foot forward when it comes to ensuring the well-being and the good education of your own child.
I completely agree. Yes, I couldn't have said it better myself. We also have some research on an article by the organization The Ed Advocate. They're an organization formed in 2014 to advocate for shifts in educational policy and the opportunities for students learning in America. In the article, they state, and I quote, "Family involvement is tied not only to student success, but also to the success of schools as a whole. Greater appreciation for the importance of the role of family in teaching a community's youth is an absolute must for any modern education reform. It's important for schools to create an environment where parents feel comfortable getting involved with the school and their kids' education. Because parents, they can control how much work their child gets done and how much their child misses. And although it's not always easy for parents, everyone's schedule's different. We have to have empathy for all situations, but it's really the parents, they have a lot of control over the child's success, both. That's a great thing and also kind of scary depending on how you look at it. But it's important for parents to care as much as the teachers and the students, and they have to do that in order for their child to receive the best education. The article also discusses how parents are their child's first teachers. These words stuck out to me because of just how true it is and how much I relate. Parents have the responsibility of teaching their kids just the basics in life. This gives the teachers a platform to teach topics where the child needs background knowledge that comes from their parent. The No Child Left Behind Act gives the teachers the right to share any information with the parent, which increases parent involvement, therefore increasing the success of the child. This will improve education reform because the parents are fully aware of what their child is learning, how they're learning, and how they are succeeding.
I love the No Child Left Behind Act because it really, again, creates that healthy bridge between what a child is doing in the classroom so that they can go home and their parents can help them in the most healthy way. And just as Zara stated from this, from facts from theadvocate.org, I think that, it's sad to think that not every student has the most healthiest lifestyle background, and you never know what someone's going through. But I think it's best as educators to be empathetic as well as parents. And really, the No Child Left Behind Act is, I think, a very powerful movement now going forward as future educators.
I completely agree. I mean, honestly, it's so important as people going into this field. If you're new to this podcast, we are currently studying to become educators in not school administration, but just, schooling. And I think something that people don't talk about enough is the importance of empathy for the families that you're serving. Obviously, it is frustrating, I'm sure, as teachers when you have kids that are late to class, they don't show up, they don't do their homework, but we have to look at the child as a whole and the child's needs as a whole, and just look at people in the context of their situations. And I think that when we do that and we really kind of focus on, that's why parent involvement is so important, because you're looking more so at the child's environment and you're including outside sources. It's not just, you throwing, papers at a kid, okay, get this done, getting mad when they don't do it, because we don't know what's going on. And I think, yeah, that's another reason why I really like the No Child Left Behind too.
And I love how, Zara, you stated how, it's important for parents and guardians being their child's first teacher, because that is true. I mean, they teach them the values that they grew up with, and they take those into the classroom, and sometimes those can be different from their surrounding peers and their surrounding classmates. So, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough career path, but I mean, it takes the right kind of people to really put their best foot forward, and I feel like that's what we need in education reform.
I completely agree. Well, thanks for talking with me, Ashley.
Of course, thank you.
Bye, guys.